Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Carl with Active English. So today I want to talk about the conditional. Okay, there are four types of conditional. What is the conditional? The conditional is for an if-then situation. If some condition, if some requirement, if some condition is met, something else is going to happen. So if A, then B. That is the conditional situation, okay? If something happens, something else will happen. There are four types of conditional. The first one is called the present real conditional. It's the same as the simple present. It's used for something that's always true or usually true. For example, if it rains, I use an umbrella. If it's cold, I wear a sweater. Do you notice if it rains, that's the simple present. I use an umbrella. That's also the simple present. So the construction here is simple present, comma, simple present. That's used for situations that are always or usually true. So that's the first type. The second one, which is actually the most popular type of conditional, is called the future real conditional. It's used for a specific time, all right? Not in general like the first one, but for a specific time. If it rains tomorrow, I will use an umbrella. So notice the construction, simple present and then simple future. I could also say, if it rains tomorrow, I'm gonna use an umbrella. It doesn't matter if I say I'm gonna or I will. But the construction is simple present and then simple future. If it's cold this winter, I will buy a new sweater. So this is different from the first one. The first one, we're just talking in general terms. The second one, we're talking in specific terms about an actual situation that could happen in the future, okay? If it rains tomorrow, not in general, but tomorrow, I will use an umbrella, okay? So that's this future real conditional. That is actually the most common type of conditional. The next one is also really popular. I believe it's the second most common type of conditional. It's called the present and future unreal conditional. Unreal means not real, right? Imaginary, hypothetical, not true. We're just speculating. It's actually the counterfactual. It's not what's actually happening. It's just imaginary. So like if I were you, right? If I were you, I would study these conditionals, right? But I'm not you, right? I'm Carl, I'm me. So that's why it's an unreal situation. I happen to be American. If I were French, then I could probably speak really good French, right? But I'm not French, I'm American. If I were French, I would live in the south of France, okay? But I'm not French, again, I'm American. So that is the opposite situation. That's why it's called the present and future unreal conditional. Hypothetical situation, imaginary situation, something that's not true. We use this a lot to give advice too, right? If I were you, right? But I'm not you, right? If it were Friday today, but it's not Friday, it's Saturday, right? If it were Friday, then I would probably be at work, okay? But it's not. It's not Friday because I'm saying if it were. Notice the construction in the if clause is always going to be simple past, right? If I were, right? Not if I am, if I were, okay? If we lived in Paris, but we don't, say we live in San Francisco. If we lived in Paris, then I would probably walk around the city quite a lot, but I don't. I live in San Francisco. So if I lived, that's the simple past. It means it's not true. So the if clause uses the simple past, and then the result clause, we use would or could. Okay. So if I were you, I would probably try this restaurant down the street, right? Very common construction used to give advice, to give sort of constructive criticism and suggestions to people. So that's the present and future unreal conditional for hypothetical situations in the present or the future. Now, what about hypothetical situations in the past? Okay, for situations that are not true in the past, we use the past unreal conditional, okay? So you remember a couple years ago, everybody remembers we had COVID, right, back in 2020. So if we hadn't experienced COVID, I would have traveled a lot in 2020, right? I didn't travel in 2020. Nobody really traveled in 2020, right? We had to stay home in a quarantine, right? So, but if we hadn't experienced COVID in 2020, I could have, or I would have traveled a lot in 2020, right? Maybe I was planning to travel in 2020, but then COVID came along and stopped those plans, right? So notice I use the past perfect. If we hadn't if we hadn't experienced COVID. I'm using if we had not and then the past participle, okay? If you want to dive deeper into the past perfect, I did a whole full-length grammar video on just the past perfect, but it's basically had, right, or had not, and then the past participle. So use that in the if clause. If we hadn't experienced COVID, I would have traveled, or we could have traveled quite a bit in 2020. So that's the past unreal conditional for a hypothetical. That means an imaginary or different counterfactual situation in the past. Okay, not as common as the first three. So if you're going to focus on a conditional to study, I would focus on number two, the future real conditional. That's used for a specific time. And according to statistics, that is actually the most high frequency, most popular conditional. So again, focus on that, future real conditional. And then the next one is the present and future unreal conditional. That is the second most common, most popular conditional used in at least in American English. So let me show you a quick video. Have a look at this short video. It's just a fun video where two people are going to use one of these particular conditionals in a conversation. All right, so have a look at the video, and then I'll come back after the video and let's talk about why they used either the first, second, third, or fourth type of conditional. All right, so I'll see you after the video.
If the weather clears up by tomorrow, we will definitely go to the market.
Yes, and if we arrive early, we won't miss the fresh spices.
Okay, great. So these two characters in the video were using which conditional was it? It was the future real conditional, also called the first conditional. And as I said, that is the most popular conditional, at least in American English. It's used for talking about an actual situation that will occur in the future and at a specific time, okay? So notice what they're saying. If the weather clears up by tomorrow, we will definitely go to the market. So they're talking about a real situation at a specific time. The specific time is tomorrow, and they're talking about what will actually happen. Notice the construction. If the weather clears up, now clear up, that's a phrasal verb, and they're using it in the present tense, not the past. Cleared up. Cleared up would be the simple past. They're using it in the simple present. If the weather clears up is to it's to become nicer. When the weather, the clouds sort of clear, move away, and it becomes blue sky. So to clear up is to become clear. It's to become nice, right? So if the weather clears up, that's simple present. We will, or we are going to, you could use either one. It's the simple future. We will definitely go to the market, okay? So that construction is simple present and then simple future in the result clause. And then the guy, he responds by saying, yes, and if we arrive early, if we arrive, that's the simple present, we won't. Do you know won't? Won't is the simple future negative of will, right? Will not. So we won't means we will not. So that simple future negative, we won't miss the fresh spices. So the construction there is simple present, comma, simple future, all right, which is, again, the future real conditional, also called the first conditional. So they're using this in this dialogue because they're talking about a specific time, and that specific time is tomorrow, okay? So again, if you're going to remember just one of these four types of conditional, I would remember the second one, the future real conditional, for a specific time, which is also called the first conditional. So I hope this video was helpful. This is Carl with Active English. Hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching. See you later. Bye.